In our previous video, we spent a couple of days in the historic town of Grahamstown or Mukunda in the Eastern Cape in South Africa. We were telling the stories of two incredible women. And today we find ourselves over 1,300 kilometers north of Grahamstown in a town called Hoedspruit. We've been staying for the past week with friends at the Olifants Game Reserve, where we've had some incredible sightings and we've recorded some amazing things. And we got to the end of that trip thinking, how can we put this all together so that you can experience the African bush the way that we did? And we thought, hang on, what happens if we find a story of the African bush and tell you that story while showing you some of the amazing things that we saw?
We're Sarah and Marek, a South African couple who set out to travel as far and wide as our tight budget could take us. After spending a year and a half in Europe, we came home to an epic van life adventure. Our next trip will take us across South Africa in the hopes of sharing exactly why we love our country so much. Okay, you ready? Why I Love Mornings in the African Bush, a short story by Paul Steyn, adapted by Sarah and Marek. That's us. We love waking up in the bush to the chorus of a new day. Our minds are clear from a night of rest and the morning calls are carried in the fresh air. It's like nature is broadcasting in its highest quality and our senses feel almost superhuman. The birds are tuning their loud instruments for the morning show, hippos sound their baritone grunts from the coffee pools, and baboons bark in the jackalberry trees that branch over the winding Olifants River. Signs of last night's party are printed in the sand. A herd of elephants that moved past camp in the dead of darkness. Spoors from the hyenas that whooped outside until 3 a.m. The frightened impalas that skipped by when the lions roared an hour later. And then, leopard tracks. A predator does not always move silently through the bush, so when other creatures become aware of its presence, the thicket begins to reverberate. The skin on the back of our necks begins to tingle. The leopard is close. The birds, insects, monkeys, and other animals all have their way of alarming when there's danger in the area. It's like a natural police unit made up of volunteers from the whole neighborhood, and if you tune into the frequency, you know what to listen for. Baboons call their barking alarm from the top of a jackalberry tree, squirrels shriek from the branches, and a bushbuck barks like a dog down by the river. Our pulses rise, we draw a breath, listening. Aware of the dangers, we draw nearer. We try to visualize its route, to tune into its mental frequency, to become the leopard. We follow its tracks to trace its wild course along the spine of this ancient river, past 1,000-year-old baobab trees, over open grassland plains, through shallow valleys. We lean into the breeze and take a step forward. A francolin bursts from the bushes and the monkeys chatter away to each other. We take one last look into the bush, staring deep into the brown to see if we can spot anything, all while the bush orchestra plays on. Suddenly, our eyes settle on something hanging in the tree. A fresh impala kill, but no leopard to be seen. We scan the landscape, a faint deep growl and the continuous bark of the baboons above head tell us that it's close. Our hearts race, pupils dilate, then the slightest flick of a white-tipped tail catches our attention and suddenly, the invisible leopard reveals itself. We are staring into the regal eyes of the killer just moments after the crime has been committed. He's sitting there on high alert for any scavengers who might be lurking, hoping to steal his prize. And the best part is, he's not alone. Roaming the plains with his queen, they disappear back into the bush as if they were never there. A chance sighting, one that may never be repeated. On our drive back home, a crackling announcement on the radio alerts us to a lion sighting. And what's more, it's the entire pride. We meet a friendly group along the way who pass a sarcastic comment that the lions would not be going anywhere anytime soon. The truth of this statement could not be more accurate. We arrive a few moments later to find the entire pride, 12 strong, stuffed full from their latest feast, enjoying the last few rays of the sun's warmth. Laying there in absolute bliss and glee, we forget about the danger that these magnificent beasts pose. But the sun is setting, and together with that, our time in the African bush. And this is our personal safari story. Good. And that's the cut.
In our previous video, we spent a couple of days in the historic town of Grahamstown or Mukunda in the Eastern Cape in South Africa. Okay. I don't know. I couldn't. Felt too serious there. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Fine. In our previous video, we spent a couple of days in the historic town of Grahamstown or Mukunda in the Eastern Cape here in South Africa. We were telling the stories. It's a lot. It's a lot. Huh?
I wonder if you should do some like meow, 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 like that, because you don't sound like you're not speaking properly.
Thank you.
Bombi, don't get offended. You know what I mean. Not pronouncing clearly. Why I Love Mornings in the African Bush, a short story by Paul Stain. Wait. Can you see them in the background? That's pretty cool.